Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Lockdown Lessons. I'm here today with Kim. Hi, Kim.
Hi, Fiona. Nice to be here.
Hello, nice to see you. And you are the owner of Indie Authors World, Kim. And how do you describe that? A self-publishing company?
Yep, we are a self-publishing company, so we help make writers' dreams come true.
Fantastic. So tell us a wee bit about your business and how it started, and also into kind of what you normally get up to outside of lockdown.
Well, our business is a bit of an accidental business, Fiona. It grew actually from a bit of a tragic story at the start, which was actually we lost our son, Callum, to meningitis in 2007. And as you know, I won't kind of like go into too much detail about it, but obviously it was a really, really hard time for us. It was very sudden. But what it did do was, my husband Sinclair had always written books, but he'd never finished anything. So we had lots of half-finished novels and bits of stories scattered all around the house. And about a year after Callum died, Sinclair kind of realised that, you know, life was too short not to do what he really wanted to do, which was really finish a book. So he started the very first book called The Reluctant Detective. He writes crime fiction. And he got this book started. He let me read the beginning of it, and I just said to him, "You have to finish this because I need to know what happens. You know, this is really good. I really want to know what happens." And because he was dedicating this book to Callum, that was the driver for him to finish the story first of all. Then we did what probably most people who have no connection to publishing do, is we sent the book out to a number of publishers and agents and just tried to see, you know, if we would get some traction. And it was just tumbleweed, you know, there was just nothing came back. But Sinclair's background was in IT, so the whole technical side of doing sort of like putting a book out wasn't really fazing him. And miraculously, although neither of us had worked in publishing, we actually combined have all the skills that you actually need to do books. You know, in terms of kind of like sort of marketing, selling, some ideas around that. But also Sinclair had worked in print in the past. He'd done a bit of design work, so the technicalities of trying to produce a book, you know, we kind of figured out. And it was just at the time that Kindle was kind of coming on sale. So we launched it, got it out as an ebook. Then we figured out about print, you know, and it was going well. I was so proud of him, right? That I used to carry a copy of the book with me everywhere, and I would tell everybody that my husband's written a book. My husband's written a book, and folk just said to me, "Can you help us? Can you help me? I want to do that." And that started off with sitting in cafes trying to explain to people how they could do it too, the same way that we had done. I've got a background in sort of training. So I thought, you know what, we could teach people how to do this. It would be much easier to gather people in a group. So we started kind of running some classes and some night classes. And then we did some online training because people said to us, well, we can't get to Glasgow. Can you do this online? So I'm going back now, what, 9 years ago, we did some online training, which is way, way early, before many people were doing any online training programs. And then we realised that as much as we were trying to teach people we were trying to teach them how to design their covers and how to do all their interiors themselves, and then how to upload your files, most people who were writing really just wanted to write and hand that over to somebody else. So our business kind of adapted and changed, and here we are now, you know, in our 8th year of our business being established, working with writers all around the world, and we basically take your raw manuscript. We've got editors, we do cover design, interior design, turn out into an ebook and get it out on sale all around the world.
Wow, that's amazing.
So it's been a long journey, but it's been an amazing one.
So normally you're out and about, aren't you, when we're not in lockdown and meeting a lot of people? So how has lockdown impacted your business?
It has. One of the things that we're missing is we do a lot of live events, and we are usually in Waterston's bookshop every month. So we've not been there for a few months, and so I'm really missing the contact with our regular folk who come along to those events, our authors, our meetings and things that we have with them. But our business is continuing to work because we're still producing, we're still working. We've just put 5 books out to press this month. We've got another 4 coming next month. We are still seeing people who are writing and coming, getting in touch with us. So the business side is still working, but it's the actual connection and contact with people that I am so missing. And I'm such a hugger, right? So this is a nightmare for me. Even when you do meet somebody, you're not with them. It's almost like they're standing with a cattle prod, making sure I don't come too close to them. So that's the downside for me. I think that's the bit that I'm struggling with.
Yeah. So I always think that it must be a very expensive process to get yourself published. Is that the case?
It's not. If you want to do it well, if you don't have all the skills yourself, and you want to get involved with somebody, a company like ours, or go to different people, it's not the cheapest way to do it, because there are costs. I mean, our prices start from still at £1,500 up. Yeah. But you can, if you've got some skills, you certainly can. You can publish stuff, yourself. You can get something up onto Kindle for free if you're able to design a cover, and you can actually convert your files to get stuff up there. So it's not insurmountable for people who don't have money. But it can be really expensive, and there are people at the other end of the spectrum that have got, will charge you, many thousands of pounds, but still operate in the way that a traditional publisher would. Because a traditional publisher would actually, people think that they would get a book, somebody would I've written this book, and they send it out, and a publisher's going to go, oh, we love it, and they're going to give you a whole host of money to take your book from you. And the reality of that is that doesn't really happen nowadays, unless you're already, well known and established. A publisher buys your rights to your book. Your book becomes theirs, and what they do is they would then give you a percentage of the profits that the book makes. In the book world, it's called royalties. So the percentage of the profits from the sales come back to you. But the bulk of the sales profits are kept with the publisher. So you might get maybe 7%. If you're really lucky, of the cover price, of the profit, not even from the cover price, 10% if you've really got a good company that you're working with. Whereas if you're self-publishing, you've got the investment that the publisher is doing. You've got the investment to put in, but with us, you keep everything that you make. So you keep 100% of the sale of your profits from your sales of your book. It's just a different way of working, and it's not for everybody, but it's a way of also getting your book out to the marketplace.
So if I had a book here right now, or material that I thought, okay, I want to pull this all together and get this published, what would be the first step that I would need to take?
One of the things is really thinking about who your market is and what you want to achieve with your book. Those are the conversations I love to have with people, because I like to know, so what is it that you're writing about? What is it you're passionate about, and why do you want to put this book out there? Because there are so many different reasons. It might just be, like I said at the start with English First Book, it was because this was dedicated to Callum and he really wanted this to be out there. Yeah. For somebody else, it might be, it might be a business book, it might be a major hobby they've had, they might be writing their memoir. They might only want their grandchildren to see that they've actually done something to encourage them to believe that they could go on and do something. Yeah. So that's really important to try and understand, because then you're going to get more of a sense of, so what would your definition of success then be? And my job is to try and marry those two things up with you. So looking at your book and then understanding, so where are your audience for that? So if you've written something that is maybe so if we take crime fiction, if you write a crime novel, right? Crime is one of the best-selling genres in books, right? Thousands and thousands of people love to read crime books every day. So there's a huge market for crime books. Yeah. There's also a lot of people who write crime. So therefore, for you to be found, you have to do a wee bit of work to make sure somebody's going to find your book. Yes. So there's an element of that. Or you could have written something that's really quite niche. But if you can find your audience for that book, then you can, there might not be that many books written in that niche area, but you've got people who absolutely love anything that's written, about that topic, and they're just waiting on the next book to come out. So one of the things is actually just figuring out what it is that you want to achieve with it. And then you want to actually know that you've written the best books that you can. So you need to let other people read it. Before you even would consider anybody who publishing anything, please let some other people read your book, so that you get a bit of feedback. But what I would say is trusted people. You don't want the naysayers who are going to read it and say, that's rubbish and never ever do it, because then what happens is a lot of your confidence is kind of like going, oh good, right, I'll do that. I'll just go in the drawer and I'll never be seen again.
Constructive criticism with it.
Exactly, because
criticism.
Every book needs an edit. Absolutely every book needs an edit. No publisher would ever put a book out that hadn't been edited. There are different times and phases of editing something. So, but yeah, so that would be those would be the kind of first things really to think about.
Well, when you're pulling together a book, is there a certain sort of order that you should be doing things in? And I don't mean necessarily, like index and those sort of things, but if you were writing, say, a non-fiction story, how do you go about kind of putting that all together?
It depends on how, even if you're starting from writing it, from thinking about how you want to write something. People are, I think, go by your own natural processes of how you like to work. That is one of the things. So we talk in the book world about being plotters and pantsers. Right? So are you a plotter? Are you somebody who actually needs to have everything, all your ducks lined up in a row, and know every step you're going to take before you move forward? Or are you somebody who runs from the seat of the pants, right? And has a kind of a vague notion of where you're going, but you're just going to adjust and go by each thing day to day. So work within your parameters, first of all, knowing, like how you best work. Because if you try and work in another way, you'll probably get switched off very quickly and get bored. Or you'll be totally out your depth if you were trying to do something with no structure.
Yeah.
But I like to think about this as being the big vision, first of all, right? You really need to get a sense of what is it you want to achieve at the end of the day? What is a bit like we were saying earlier, what is your book going to do? Who do you want to engage with? What is it for? Is it to entertain somebody? Is it a business book? Like you said, is it something for non-fiction that's actually related to your business? Or a particular hobby or skill that you've got that you want to teach or something? So have that vision at the end as to what it is you want the person to have got out of reading your book. Think of it almost like a kind of big screen movie kind of version of it, if you like, almost. If you were going to go and watch something, what would you be watching? And then you can work back from that as to, okay, so what would I need to have included in there so that I'm going to get that person at the end? If anybody's a trainer, right? So this is like how somebody would deliver a training program. You're creating a training program, and developing a book is much the same way. You've got that. What is the outcome that you want to have at the end? And then what are you going to have to put in between that end part and this? What are you going to have to tell them? What journey are you going to lead them on? And just what wee bits are you going to bolt together?
Yeah. So it's about really identifying if there is a market for that book and how you approach them. So do you find, Kim, that most of the people that are coming to you before they've actually started the book? They're just in a position where they would like to go forward with it? Or is it the case that most come with something already there?
I have a mix of that. If someone's writing, we get probably quite a lot of people who've already written something, and they've been away and they're then at the point of looking for somebody to help them publish. So that probably accounts for about maybe 60% of the people that we work with. And maybe the other 40 are folk who've just said, I've got this idea. And I'm happy to have a conversation with somebody even when they've got an idea, because particularly if you're writing non-fiction, I think, that's where, if you're writing a non-fiction book and if it's anything to do with your business or personal development, I work a lot with kind of like coaches and therapists and trainers, because that's also been my bit of background, and I love that whole personal development world, So if someone's sitting there with an idea just now and trying to figure out whether they could turn that into a book, I like to have the conversation with them, because I can help them maybe to figure out how they want to shape their message. And just like the conversation we've had, trying to figure out who is it you're actually delivering this for, what it is do you want to tell them, how are you going to kind of help, put that together, just give them a kind of a bit of an overview for something, so that they go off then to write the book in a way that, from my knowledge as a kind of publisher, gives them the best chance of success, because we've now defined what they think success is going to be for them. It's more of a challenge if someone hasn't done that and they've just started writing, and they've put just a jumble of their thoughts down, because often that might be the first kind of process. They've just kind of put a whole lot of stuff down, and then they come to me and I have a look at it and I think, oh, I wish you'd had a conversation with me first, because what I'm having to say to them is, yeah, you've got a great idea, but there maybe needs to be a lot more work to turn that round now into a book. And for some folk, then that's like, oh well, notion's past. I don't have the energy to do that. But I know that it's okay, right, fine, they'll take that on board and go away and realise that they have to then do some more work to it. So it's that's the kind of the range, and we meet everybody in between. Honestly, I think I've had such an amazing journey being part of this kind of business, and meeting people that are writing some amazing stuff. So it's great fun. You never know who you get to talk to from day to day.
Can you give us some examples, Kim, of people that you've worked to or topics that you've helped publish?
Yeah, we do. We've got quite a lot of fiction, quite a few crime fiction writers. I've got a couple of really nice kind of young adult fantasy stuff coming around as well at the moment. There's quite a kind of breadth of that around. We've got, in fact, hot off the press, I can show you. Oh, literally just came in. That's one of our latest. Oh, a minute, I have to get to the camera. So dystopian fantasy that we've just done, and
it's feeling to have your own book in your hand, Kim.
Yep. And then something completely different. I need to figure where the camera is. So this is a Passion for Vincent, and this is a full colour book. That's beautiful. Where the camera is for you. So you've got this kind of photographs and stuff. This one is an absolute amazing story. This man is dead.
Oh.
His widow came to us last year. She'd found 2 books and stuff that he'd been working on all his life and wanted to get them out there. And we got this in hard copy. I mean, it was typed. I mean, he didn't have a computer. This was typed stuff and photographs. In this book, he actually had gone to France and had researched the places that Vincent van Gogh had actually painted, found where he actually could see, took photographs of what that building or that location looked like. These were in the kind of late 80s and 90s that he actually had done this work. And then had written the whole kind of story. Here's the picture that was actually that he painted. Here's what it looks like now. Here's some, here's some study into his life, the experience. I mean, it's a fascinating book. And we've now just got this back to give to his, to his widow. Can you imagine what it's like then to get, his stuff? That's just so cool. But we've also, we've done poetry books. We've got a number of different memoirs, people who are sharing their story. There's a fantastic one by a chap who lives in Glasgow, Dr. Abaddon Khalaf, and he is a chemist who came here from Iraq years ago. He came here and trained here, and then ended up having to go back to Iraq because he was in basically conscripted in the army. But he'd married here, and then he took his family over from Dundee. Lived in Dundee at that point. Took his family back to Iraq. Then had to escape. This was during the Iraq-Iran war. Had to basically escape because it was really, really dangerous. Sent his wife and children back to Scotland, and he then had to make this really perilous journey. Going through Iran, which was, his country's enemy at that time, on donkey, like through, being smuggled in different places. Came back, has been in Scotland for many years, and he actually has produced a new strain of antibiotics that have just been licensed to come out to the marketplace. Wow. That that work with some conditions like C. diff and MRSA that are resistant to antibiotics. You know, so his life story is just amazing. You know,
that's fantastic. Gosh, it's unbelievable, isn't it, to think of all these stories that might just never be told if it wasn't for recording them, or even these people being able to self-publish.
Yeah, yeah.
We've got a few comments here. Hello to Susan, Claire, Nicola. Hi, everybody. And Alan Gall says, this is really interesting. I proof manuscripts for a crime author who is very receptive to suggestions. I find the best crime books and authors are those who finish a chapter with a desire to start the next one. Simple, really. Wonderful for that lady. Yes, it must have been amazing just having known that was his hobby and his dream all of those years, to be able to finally pull all that together. And it looks so professional. I mean, it's a beautiful looking book.
Oh, that we will be sharing. I mean, I'm going to actually probably record a video about the production of that, because this is above and beyond what we would normally do, and it was really quite difficult in a way, because we couldn't actually speak to him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because in the process, you know, it's as editing, you know, so your chap here saying he works in editing and proofreading, you know, the editor's role is to help shape the book and have those conversations and look at the words and, you know, and make suggestions. And that would be part of our normal process when we're working with a writer. And we couldn't do that with him. So we were having to kind of make some judgments. And his wife, obviously, his widow, Yunsun, being understandably quite precious about her husband's work, and us having to try and, you know, just like push the barriers, because we wanted this to be a book we want this to be a book that would sell, because it's really fascinating as a story, and the work that he's got into it. But yeah, so that's always a bit of a challenge too, you know, just helping people see what our vision of trying to help them to get to the marketplace and make sure that people are going to want to pick it up and read it, you know. So yeah.
And do all the books that you deal with, Kim, go to print, or do you do online books as well?
We do print and ebooks for everything that we can. Sometimes there are some limitations in ebooks, because the technology is not exactly there to have everything replicated from print. But we start out with the idea of having your book in print, because I think for every writer, even if you're doing an ebook, you really want the book in your hand, like you said. You know, you want to get that book, you know, like come to you and sit there and go, it's mine, you know, it's here. So that's so we start from the premise of creating a paper version, but they're all on sale on the 70 online retailers all around the world, you know. So, you know, Amazon, you know, Wordery, Waterson's online, Barnes and Noble, you know, all these locations actually sell the books. Mm-hmm. As well as the ebooks and Kindle and Apple, Kobo, all those formats.
Yeah, and there's still a huge market for having something in your hand, isn't there? Yeah. And I even notice, you know, when I'm selling properties, handing out brochures, and people are like, "Wow, we don't get any brochures anymore," and it's just such a lovely tactile thing for them to take away and look at. It's just, you know, I don't think we're ever going to lose that attraction to having something in hand that we can read through.
Yeah, yeah, and people had said when the ebooks came out, oh my goodness, that was it, it's the death of the paperback, you know, it's not, and it didn't happen. And then now people are saying that like print books actually just took a, you know, came back, a bit of a resurgence again, and then people are saying, oh, the ebooks have gone. They haven't gone either. You know, people are choosing, you know, where they want to read, and quite interestingly, I mean, children's books, you know, and we do produce children's books as well, you know, papers, like. We've got a few for small children, you know, the kind of traditional kind of coloured pages type, you know, photo books and things, picture books. I mean, children's books for a small age, definitely more in print, you know. But the young adults actually are reading more in physical format as well, rather than on a screen.
Right.
So, you know, that's where people always said, oh, kids are constantly on screens and that's all they're doing now. But we found that, you know, we look at the trends in sales, and so young adult fiction definitely kind of sold more in paper recently. So, yeah, so it's interesting. But yeah, we all like to have something in our hand. I think that's the reality.
Yeah. And how does it work then with getting your book into the likes of Waterstones, for example? Because somebody told me that, and this probably isn't true, but they published a book and they did something called reverse shoplifting, and they took it into Waterstones and they just popped a few on the shelves in the hope that when somebody went to the checkout, they would scan it and it would automatically form part of Waterstones stock and they would reorder it. Is that true?
Sorry, no. No, that doesn't work.
Okay.
Getting a book into a bookstore is not straightforward. No? If you think about the publishers, the main publishers, you know, that are there in Scotland, particularly, I'll use Scotland as an example of what happened. So there is a buyer for Waterstones is based in, so she's based up in Perth. She is the main buyer for all of the stores in Scotland. Right. And there are also buyers in the other, you know, like regions that they have, that the bookstores have got set up. Her job is to look at the new books that are coming out and make decisions as to whether or not they think that those books will sell and where they might sell, because every bookshop has got a slightly different audience, and you know, so there's lots of stuff goes on. Publishers spend a lot of time and effort trying to get her attention, but also other book buyers' attentions. So the publishers can spend hours and lots of money wining and dining, you know, to try and get attention on their book. Mm-hmm. In saying that, though, if you are self-publishing, the bookstores, I mean, even Waterstones do this because they have got some leeway locally for a manager within the store. They can look at having some of their stock, you know, chosen locally if it's appropriate. So you can go into a bookstore and let them see your book. Now, what you would do is you would give them, we talk about an AI sheet, an advanced information sheet. It's a bit like your book and your CV, right? Mm-hmm. So that what you can do is you can say, here's what my book is about. Here's the audience. Here's why you would love it. You know, here's some core bits. Here's the metadata that the bookstore will understand about who the distributor is, where it would find, how they would get access to it, what the price is, what your discounts you're going to give them. You know, all of the technical stuff. Mm-hmm. So they've got that to look at, but they get a chance to then look at the book and say, yeah, okay, that would fit with our, you know, our marketplace, and potentially they then might order some books from you. Right. But what people probably don't know, and I didn't understand this until I got involved, is that bookstores operate mostly on a huge discount from the price of the book. So usually 55%, right, is the industry standard. And also on a kind of sale or return basis for up to 18 months. So they could have the books in the store for up to 18 months and then say, actually, we bought 100 from you, we've only sold 20, we don't want the rest of them, here you are, have the 80 books back, but in reality they don't even send you the 80 books back because the publisher has to pay for the postage and return. So often it's either destroy, so the books are actually just ripped up and destroyed, or they rip the covers off them and send you the covers back to prove that they haven't sold them.
Oh gosh.
So horrendous. I know, it's absolutely horrendous what happened. Apparently, here's a wee fact. I don't know if this is true, but I was told this, so we'll just assume that it is. When they built the M74 extension in Glasgow, you know, the ones that joins onto the M8, the base of that is built on pulped books.
Oh my goodness!
They use a whole lot of pulped books to actually put in some of the hardcore on the base of that extension for the motorway. Wow. So, but we print on demand. So all our books are printed to order.
All right. Okay.
So it's a much more ecological way, right? So if you go on and order any of the books for any of the authors that we've published, and you ordered the book from whether it was Amazon or whether it was Waterstones.com or wherever you want to buy your books from, the order goes to the printer. The printer print the book. And the book is then shipped out to the customer, and the author effectively gets the profit from that book sale into their bank account.
Right, okay. So presumably, if your book was just being launched, you might maybe be optimistic and think, I'm going to order 100 copies of that and have it sitting, and then you would get a better discount from the printer rather than print individually.
Well, it's a bit different. Well, yeah, if you were going to work, but when you're printing the books, we print and price the books, so we know that you've always got. We get 40% discount to go to the retail trade, so they get 40% to sell stuff. We know what the print cost is. We know what your profits will be. You will get, if you print more, you know, a higher number. Yeah, you do get a kind of slightly better rate if you've got, you know, if you've got books that you want to sell yourself. But you really need to go nowadays to a printer if you want to kind of make, you know, you can go and print books yourself. Obviously, if somebody wanted to self-publish, you just go to a printer. But your problem then is you're not, if you're sitting there with, you know, 1,000 books in your garage or whatever, you know, because you've gone and you've printed all these books, they're not available to they're not through the distribution chain. So how do you sell those books?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So the print and distribution, everything being connected. It's amazing what happens now in the world. You know, this is where, because self-publishing has evolved so much, and this is why we talk about you being an independent author, right? And this is the, you could always say, what do you mean indie author? You know, an independent author is somebody who is choosing to take control of their piece of art, in this case a book, get it out to the marketplace and sell it and keep the money themselves. In the same way as, I know you had Katie, you know, Katie Cross on the other day as a musician. You know, she produced her own music, created books, her own music, got it out there and selling her music herself. Yeah. This is the same way that what can happen for writers to be able to do the same. You know, publishers have been gatekeepers of, you know, just what goes out there. And, you know, there are people who are writing some really, really good books, but they might not be, from a publisher's perspective, they might not be commercial enough for that publisher to think that they're going to make enough money on. But you can make a good living. I mean, there are lots of people making a good living from their, you know, from selling their books themselves.
Yeah. Well, is it the case then, Kim, if your book is ordered anywhere in the world, it goes through the distribution and it's printed locally and then sent out to them?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Gosh.
So we've got a writer sitting here, you know, in Glasgow. Somebody in Australia wants to buy their book. It's printed. The printers that we work with have got printing facilities all around the world, so it's printed closest to the point of order. So it's not then, you're not then travelling, you know, from the UK to get to Australia. It's printed in Australia and shipped in Australia. It's printed in the States and shipped in the States, across Europe, wherever it is. So green credentials as well. Then, you know,
it saves everyone money and it's good for the environment too. That's amazing. So Kim, I've sort of chipped in with a whole bunch of questions all the way through, but you did have 5 tips, didn't you? Have we covered them, or where are we in it?
Yeah, we've covered quite a few, but I think what I'll do is I'll run through them for folk that are sitting here watching.
Brilliant.
The first tip that we really probably haven't really maybe covered quite as much is actually, you need to actually write this book. And there are so many people out there just now who are probably saying, I'm going to write a book someday. Right? And the thing is, actually, you need to go off of here and set yourself a date that you are going to have that book done by. Choose the date that's important to you. Choose a reason that it's important to get it out there, because, you know, as we said, if we hadn't lost Callum, Sinclair probably would never have really found. He'd also found another excuse not to finish a book. Right? So I'm sure we would still have lots more half-written things scattered about the house. Our publishing business wouldn't exist. So have a date. Get working on it, get some ideas. We've got a free, if anybody wants to try creative writing, we've got a free creative writing group going on at the moment. Come and join us, we'll give you some hints and tips. You know, so get that, you know, that's the first thing, get it written. The next one is then you want to actually, get it finished. So get started and then get it finished. And recognise that the first version of your book, even if you get it finished, is really you telling the story to yourself. Right? So that's really what it is. Recognise that's what it is. You know, people talk about the kind of first shitty draft, right? As, you know, in technical terms. So that's the thing, is just recognise
you want to read it, not necessarily for who your biggest audience might be. Yeah. So recognise that you've got it finished, but then look at your time frame as well to get it finished. And one of the things is give yourself some deadlines in that time. You know, so
have the date that you're working towards, then have some word count maybe, or have a, you know, a definition of like a chapter done a month or whatever it is that you want to do. Make sure that you're working towards that just to get your words down on paper, because you cannot edit a blank page, right? Here's the reality, right? That's not going to happen. And the other thing what I would say as well is write from the heart, right? For everybody who's here, whether you are writing your own memoir, whether you're writing a book for your business, or whether it's, you know, about your favorite, you know, your favorite subject, or you're going to write a piece of fiction, write from your heart and think about this as write the book you would love to read, because mostly we are writing for ourselves. We would write the kind of books that we would like to read. You know, so engage your heart and go in there first and have that big vision of where you want to go, and then get it, you know, get moving towards it.
Just get the words on the paper, I suppose. Don't procrastinate over it. Just get it down. It can be tidied up.
Yeah, because that's the third bit, is then edit, right? So recognise that you're going to need an edit. We've had somebody talking about editing. Absolutely essential. You are never going to put a book out there if you decide that you've written something and that's all you wanted to do, you just wanted to write it, you really haven't, you don't want to publish it, you're maybe going to print a few copies on paper and give it to your friends or your family or whatever, absolutely, that's fine. But if you're serious about wanting to put this book out and do something with it, and I would encourage everybody to do that, because if you have spent the time and effort to put it together, you want to try and celebrate that in some way. Then editing's a must, right? So you're going to need different, and there's different levels of editing, but you know, I wouldn't go into the kind of detail here, but there are different levels of editing that you're going to have. So tip number 4 is always judge a book by its cover.
Okay, tell us more.
It's the complete opposite of what everybody else would say, but it's true, as we do, right? You are going to look at the cover of a book. So if you're wanting to publish something yourself, and you've got that point where you've written it, you've got it done, you've got some editing done, and you're looking at your cover for your book, it has to be, it's the first point of marketing. Like you were saying about how you present a house, right? It's just, right? It's really important. So yeah, exactly. So your style of your cover, the typeface you use, and all of that has to. It's if you think of your vision being your movie, your cover is then your book is the movie trailer, if you like. It's that kind of snapshot of the poster that's really going to attach to somebody, and they're going to go, right, that I know that's a crime book. That's not that's not a romance, because you'll see from the style of pictures and things that you use, the types of typeface that you would use, the strap lines and things that you would attract to it. So those are all really, really important. And if somebody wants to play around with that themselves, because there are tools that you can try things as well, then by all means have a go. But remember that you're not having to describe everything about what's in your book on the cover. That's more. Yes, yeah. So one thing that I often find, if people come with me sometimes and they've said, I've got a cover I've designed, and then you see it and you're going, oh God. And it's like, no. So yeah, less is more is usually a thing, to kind of get that across. Killer blurbs on the back as well. So your cover is your front and the back of the book. So you've got, like I said, you've got from the cover. I can't remember where this camera is in this one, and then you're turning over and you're reading the back. So so you want to kind of have a brief description, 150 to 200 words. That's really hard for a lot of people to try and describe what it is. I suppose it's the same for you from a house, kind of what are the core bits that's really going to appeal to somebody that they really want to know about that. To think of theirs. And I guess it's pretty hard when someone's just written 500 pages plus. Condense all of that into something that's going to grab somebody's attention and convey the message that they want at the same time. Yeah, that's a skill, and it's and again, it's something that we do with our authors, because I'll get them, okay, so you send me what you think you would say, and then I'll look at it, and because I'm looking at it fresh and I'm thinking about, okay, who's your market, what's the audience, what are they going to look for, that's where we then kind of like play around with those sort of stuff and turn it. Exactly. Why that's really useful to have that extra pair of eyes just to look, because there'll be so many parts of the book that someone will think is fundamentally important,
and you're looking at it and saying, look, you know, let's be objective and choose what we put in here.
Exactly, exactly. And my last tip for anybody there is, yeah, self-publishing is possible, right? So by all means, you know, go and explore. You can, if you want to try something yourself, you know, have a look at Kindle. You can open my KDP account and go and do something, you know, just to get an ebook up there. You can do KDP print. We use a company called Ingram Spark. So if anybody is thinking there and they're looking, going, I've got something that's there. But what you need to remember is that the interior of your book is then the design of your book is just as important now as what you've got on the cover, and how you. So you don't just put a Word document together and then wrap a cover on it and put it out as a book. There are a lot of things that that you probably don't even appreciate that are there. But as a reader, there are certain cues come up in a book that so that you know there's a change of emphasis, it's a different speaker, you know, from the italics, the way that the text is laid out, about there being indented paragraphs or not, you know, how the titles are shown, where the chapter headings are. And all of those things give you the level of professionalism, you know, to go around, so that at the end of the day, someone's going to look at your book not as here's a wee hand knitted project that someone's put together.
Yeah.
You want the quality to show, right? And that's the thing for us. That's why our business developed and existed, so that we could actually help make sure that the person could turn their story into the best version it could be by using, you know, our editors and the help and stuff, and then that you've got a cover and a design that isn't going to turn somebody away from not reading what you've written. Yeah. So and then get it on sale and start telling the world that it's there, you know. So there's I could do a whole other slot on how you market a book, because that's a different story. But yeah, it's possible. So I would just encourage everybody to, you know, give it a go.
That's amazing. I was going to ask about timescales there, Kim, but I guess it can be any timescale depending on what somebody's able to vote already got there, and what help they're going to be able to accept to help them along with it.
Yeah, I mean, we've our fastest turnaround of a book was 10 days.
Wow.
Not often you get somebody who phones you up and say, I've got a book emergency. Go and check out Shoris Wallace. He's a film producer, an actor, a stunt director, an amazing author, and he'd actually done a bit of publicity about this book that he'd written but not published yet, and the newspapers wanted to pick something up, and they were going to run this story, and the book wasn't out, you know, we knew him. Yeah, suddenly arrives, goes, I've got this book to get out. So, but yes, 10 days, not to be recommended. You know, it's definitely not the best. But I mean, in normal times, we would say we're usually working with somebody over sort of 4 months to 6 months.
Right.
You know, but it can be up to a year. You know, it can be longer. It depends. If we have people who come to us who say, I'm just, you know, they've signed up to be working with us, but they're away working writing. And then we dip in with them every now and again, say, okay, how's the writing going? Making sure we're keeping moving forward, because they've then committed to, right, I know that this has to be done, you know. So it's what suits everybody. And there's, as I said, we don't have a hard and fast rule, but, you know, on average, we're really looking for sort of like from, if you've got your book kind of finished, we're looking at sort of 4 months from raw manuscript to book in your hand. So
you've made it all seem so much more accessible. I'm sure viewers will agree. You know, it seems like a little bit of a dark art, I suppose, to a lot of people. But actually, when you've got somebody like yourself that's working and doing it all the time, and able to sort of help somebody and monitor them all the way through and help them meet deadlines and things like that, and then all the other freelancers that you've got access to as well. I mean, that's it's amazing.
Yeah. And I think the thing for us is that we've got our community around about it. It was always a priority for us that because self-publishing doesn't mean you do everything on your own. And so from either, you know, getting the book produced, because that whole thing about self-publishing isn't about that one person doing everything. We were very lucky in that Sinclair had that really unusual mix of skills to be able to produce stuff himself, but most people don't. So the production is not on your own. but neither is the, you know, the selling and the marketing and, you know, just what you want to achieve. But you're never going to do that on your own. So our community have always been really, really important to us, and it's the bit that keeps me here, is, you know, going as well, is that I love to see them celebrating and supporting each other, and, you know, our online events, or, you know, our live sessions that we have in Watersons and in the libraries and all the things that we do. So, you know, having people to connect with. And share your success, because if they've been there too, they know how exciting it is when you get that book in your hand for the first time. You know, it's an amazing feeling, you know. So, so yeah, it's possible. Just go and do it, folks.
We've got Claire Miller's been watching. She'd said hello, Kim, and for anybody who hasn't seen her interview, she did one a couple of weeks ago, and she's a children's author who published through yourself.
Yeah.
Kim. So if anybody wants to find out the books that you've helped publish, is somewhere centrally that they can go and just have a look through Indie Authors World's books?
Yep. If you go onto our website, so indieauthorsworld.com, you will see we've got the books. You can buy the paperback versions through our site as well. And for probably about 90% of the books now, we're still working our way through this. You can see a sneak peek, so you can actually get to look inside the book. So on each page, there's a wee bit about the, you know, you can actually look inside the book. But I mean, our books are available for sale in all the, you know, in all the major retailers as well. But yeah, go and check out what's there. Have a look on our Facebook page. You can see some of the events and things. You'll find them as well. You'll find videos that we've done with our from our Watersons events on our website. Too, in the events section. So yeah, there's lots of stuff there.
And you mentioned a competition that you're running at the moment, Kim. Is it creative writing?
Yeah, it's just a challenge. It's a free group that we've got for anybody to take part in. We decided with the whole lockdown stuff that people just maybe needed a bit of kind of fun and creative outlet. So it's called ISORIMO. Because there is a NaNoWriMo is the National Write a Novel in November. So we thought ISORIMO was the Isolation Writing Month, was what we decided. It's a free Facebook group. I think there's maybe a link on the blurb that we had before this. For so come and take part if you want. Anybody's interested. We've had... we started off last month and did a kind of wee series of challenges to get people writing a short story. We've created another set of different challenges for people to work on just now. And we've just been tapping into that. Usually on a Wednesday afternoon, we've been doing a wee kind of live kind of chat with everybody just to see how they're going, and just encouraging people to, you know, to get creative and develop some characters and develop some short stories. That's what we've been working with. So
sounds great. So I'll pop all those links on top of this video as well, Kim, because we had it on the previous post. So I'll pop them up there, and people can check you out and support you.
Thank you. Be great.
I'm looking forward to leafing through the books. I definitely want to have a look at the gentleman who had passed away and travelled all over the world. What was the name of it again, Kim?
So that book's called A Passion for Vincent. It's in preview at the moment, on pre-sale at the moment, so it comes out at the end of this month actually for purchase. But yeah, it's a really nice gift book as well for anybody that's interested in art and Vincent van Gogh. It's a really nice gift book. But we've got books on writing, on walking, on cycling. Just so there's. On golf, there's amazing. If anybody's a golf fan, there's amazing. The bucket list of Scottish golf courses is very well. So honestly, there's something for everybody.
Okay, we'll be sure to go and have a wee look then. Thanks so much, Kim. You've been absolutely amazing. I've loved chatting to you.
Thank you, Fiona. And that's it, right? You need to now get off and get those ideas for your books going.
I know. I just need to decide on a topic. I think I've changed my mind so many times over the years. And now I've got 2 young children, and when am I ever going to get the time? But I'll get it started.
Yeah, that's what to do. Put some time in your diary. Get yourself
time. Thanks so much, Kim. You've been great.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed it. Lovely to speak to you, and thanks a lot, Fiona.
Bye.
Bye.